I'm probably not the only one who thinks the Bonk Atomic Punch is incredibly underrated. Often misused by new players and in rare occasions actually useful. So this guide is meant to teach you everything you can do with the Bonk. It is targeted towards most traditional game modes, Pops and Highlanders specifically, except for 6S, because, well, the Bonk is banned there. First of all, we have to know the basic mechanism of the Bonk Atomic Punch and some misconceptions people usually have with it. The Bonk, when activated, gives Scout exactly 8 seconds of invulnerability. It's like a free Uber that can be activated on demand and can be refilled through respawns and resupply cabinets. Sadly, after the effect, the Scout will get slowed down based on the amount of damage received during the invulnerability, with the maximum slowdown being 50% slower than normal at 200 plus damage. The Bonk's cooldown fills in exactly 30.3 seconds. The cooldown does not regenerate in 22 seconds. That value ignores the drink time and invulnerability time. The Bonk is a support item and should be treated as such. Only use it if your team needs help to get through a specific obstacle. Otherwise, unequip the Bonk and play as a flank class. Remember, the Bonk is a secondary weapon, so don't expect it to do miracles using it individually without any help from your primary weapon. The Shortstop is a primary that has 4 bullets in one clip and it has the ability to reload the entire clip. So already it means you do not have to equip the Shortstops when using the Bonk to escape to reload it. A lesser known fact that is important to note about the Shortstop is that it increases knockback taken from damage and air blast. This is extremely useful with the Bonk as it allows you to fly from sentries and flee from hard to escape areas much easier, but it will handicap you in areas with heavy amounts of knockback, so these are just situational uses. The Babyface's Blaster is a primary that has a special speed boost meter that increases your speed. The speed boost meter is filled by dealing any kind of damage, which is a relatively easy task. Unfortunately, the speed boost meter can easily be lost by double jumping or tanking damage. However, the Bonk allows you to preserve the boost easier due to the invulnerability, so you can use the Bonk when you know you're about to lose your speed boost from a flight, so that you can preserve the speed boost to get to the resupply cabinet or a friendly medic even faster. The speed boost can also be used with the Bonk effect to negate some level of knockback. This is primarily useful when going into areas with heavy amounts of knockback, like areas with 2 sentries for instance. The Atomizer is a melee that when equipped gives you a 3rd air jump. The 3rd air jump is useful with the Bonk as it gives you extra aerial mobility, which helps greatly when dealing with air blast, negating knockback, or when trying to get near sentries. The uses for the Atomizer are not at all situational, as the Atomizer's negative attributes are negligible. Also, you can use the Fan of War, which could be used with the Bonk to help guarantee mark for death on a special target, like a medic or a sniper. But if you manage to get close enough to the special target that you can mark them, you may as well just go ahead and kill them instead of trying to mark then kill. I do not recommend using the Fan of War in general unless if an important target is particularly hard for your team to kill or you are just playing MVM. Always conserve the amount of time needed to get to your location. Where you drink your Bonk is important because it will affect the time you have to use your invulnerability. Use the enemy knockback to your advantage. When it comes to the Bonk, knockback is a double-edged sword. It can be used to escape areas where you would otherwise not make it out in time, but it can also prevent you from properly using the Bonk. When escaping, the knockback gain can be manipulated with aerial movement techniques to move through large amounts of distance. Do not worry about the post-Bonk slowdown impact. You will take a lot of damage when using the Bonk, so just assume you're going to get slowed by the maximum amount. If you do not get a lot of slowdown, then use that to your advantage. Do not get too close to players with melee feeder weapon. A mistake I see, and sometimes make myself, all the time is getting way too close to players that have melee feeder weapons, like their Uber Saw or Vita Saw. This tip is not particularly hard to execute as Scout, is a very mobile class even in the air. But do remember that the post-Bonk slowdown will guarantee the enemy a kill if you are too close to the enemy. A staple usage of the Bonk is the ability to tank knockback from sentries, which helps greatly during a push. When a sentry is on a target, the sentry is essential doing its job and providing use to its team. If the sentry's target happens to be invulnerable, like when Ubered, The sentry can still deal knockback to them, making it hard for them to deal damage to the sentry before their invulnerability ends. Now what if there were two targets and one of them were invincible? If the sentry targeted the invulnerable player, now the vulnerable can focus on killing the sentry without having to deal with knockback. This is the main reason why the Bonk is a great firm counter to sentries. It's not remotely a hard counter, but it's not a soft one either. Sadly, this really depends if your team has a brain and take advantage of this tragedy. If you manage to get in close to a sentry, try to kill the sentry's owner with a sentry fire. Sentries can deal damage to their engineer. If you kill the engineer, then obviously their sentry becomes much easier to destroy. You can also tank damage debuffs from the enemy team. To do this, simply get in front of the enemy and try to stay in their sight line as well as you can. Push against the enemy or intentionally setting off projectile. Like if the enemy team used their Uber and start a push, a scout could use the Bonk and get in front of them to tank some damage from the enemy team and halt their movement for some time. This strategy works great with Kritzkrieg Ubers, as Spires can not just airblast the Ubered pair away, but a Bonk scout is invulnerable and can help the movement of the Kritz Uber pair so that by the time the pair gets to their destination, their Uber has already ran out. The scout can also block projectiles with critical hits to keep his team safe, blocking sniper sightlines to prevent enemy sniper from hitting valuable targets and make them waste a shot, intentionally getting into sticky traps to bait the Demo Man into detonating them so your team can push through safely. Using the Bonk, sometimes you should prioritize your survival instead of dealing damage. The best way to use the Bonk as an escape tool is when realize you're not going to win. It sounds counterintuitive at first glance, but trying to find a position to use the Bonk will just reduce the chances of your successfully drinking, since you lose more and more of your health, unless if there is a cover very close to you. Your health acts as a buffer when drinking, so if you have enough health, you can tank some damage and fully drink the Bonk and escape, unless if the enemy can interrupt your drinking animation. When using the Bonk, equip your primary if it hasn't been fully reloaded. This way you can safely reload, so even if you cannot escape, you can still fight back. The Bonk is a great tool for flanking enemy lines due to the invulnerability. Generally, flanking the enemy lines is done to get rid of a specific nuisance, like teleporter entrances at enemy spawn or enemy sniper. Because believe me, there isn't a worse thing for an engineer than getting your entrance teleporter destroyed, making you walk to the start of the map or kill bind and deal with the respawn time to finally build the entrance teleporter again. Getting the enemy's teleporter entrance destroyed gives your team an advantage, as the enemy team needs to travel more to get to the battlefield. Also, if multiple people chase you, you're wasting time of multiple enemies with just one person, basically being a nuance and giving your team a slight but a great advantage. Scouting. Now, this is incredibly useful if you have a team with a brain. The Bonk is a useful scouting tool. You cannot see enemy health or Uber like a spy can, and you cannot hide well like a spy can, so they will be aware that you got information on them. But unlike a spy, you have invulnerability, so you can sacrifice yourself to focus purely on getting useful enemy info and telling your team via the text or voice chat without having to worry about dying. Hopefully, after watching this video, you can see the true potential of the Bonk Atomic Punch. So go ahead and have fun!